Hello. So, I'm Ryan with, I don't know, I don't really have a channel name particularly yet, but I thought, since there seems to be some odd interest in like the fact that I can write backwards, and I'm kind of like a niche of a niche of a niche here, amputated burn survivor who's really into fountain pens. Yeah. I figured, why not have a little thing on me and what I use, and maybe a little bit of why it kind of appeals to me and what value I see in it and those kinds of things, and maybe where I'd like this to go one day or something along those lines. But so this is going to be a long, talky, rambly kind of one. I mean, if, per se, well, more perchance, if you'd like to see me do more things, that could be an idea. You know, leave in the comments below, and we'll look into that and see what we can do. Me. I'm trying to think we as a community who, for some reason, all really like these things. These fountain pens that are so awesome. I mean, this is my Ahab. And I got the flex nip off of there right now. And that's just because it's turning into actually an exceptional little writer. But I keep a very tight pen allowance. That way, because I'm kind of poor. So, it is what it is. There we go. Getting done screwed. So I can show you something I've found exceptionally useful lately. Are these things. The refillable cartridges. You can get a good little bit in there. I mean, that's probably a better look at how much is left, because that's how you'd fill it anyway. See? So, these hold quite a bit of ink. I have the piston cartridge for it, but I don't have any bottles of ink at the moment, except for my Lexington Gray, which I have in a squeeze bottle, actually. One of those. Used to be for vaping e-liquid. I mean, it's probably not the greatest thing, but it's better for traveling with 60 milliliters of ink, because I donated 30 milliliters to a friend, to whom, well, family, really, to whom I gave a Jinhao Shark pen and a little Kaweco Sport 2 to get her going, just to, like, hey, here's these awesome things called fountain pens, you know? Here's some ink, have at thee. So, I got the, I don't know, this is probably gonna get weird and tangential and maybe interesting. I hope you enjoy this. If you don't enjoy this, I mean, there's a door or a back button on your browser. You can click away, because this is gonna get weird. Not that it always, well, no, it always is weird, at least with me. So, I guess I could cut this and angle down and just show you things, because, man, you don't need to see this. Hi, there, all you need. So, on that note, okay, welcome back. Here are stuffing things. I know, I just kind of moved everything out of this to show you, but this is my travel case. I know you can't quite see it yet. Probably should have taken a little more time to get it set up before being like, hey, here's the stuff. But, hey, here's the stuff, you know. This is my little travel kit I've put together. I got a really cheap, whatchamacallit, a kind of calligraphy-ish set in it, just to see if it was any good. The nibs were alright. They didn't come with any tipping material. I mean, they had a decent variety. They used cartridges. Probably could have eyedroppered one of them, but it only came with one body. And it was just like, eh. So, this is the stuff I've used so far. Not everything is pictured. All of my ink samples are way over there. I could probably go get them later. Not that you necessarily want to see them all right now. Maybe you do. I don't know. There can be more videos. But just to kind of run through everything for no particular reason other than I have the time and maybe y'all want to see, you know, what someone with this for hands has to use fountain pens, because you're probably thinking, you know what, this is an intensive and what's the involved kind of hobby to have. And I have two full hands and they don't always do what I want them to do. And this person, this guy, look at him. What? 3 little fingers and he has what? So, obviously some ink syringes, because you gotta have some to fill these things. Like this one right now, I have like this little Kaweco. I'm just refilling cartridges in, and it's more for testing things out, just to get an idea of what inks I like. Got an old, I say old because it's a little bit wetter and a little bit broader than it was when it first started out, and this was my very first fountain pen. You can tell from the teeth marks, because yeah, I have to use my teeth as a clamp sometimes to open things, hold things, grab things. So function. So there's that one. I then got this little one, which I didn't get to eyedropper right off the bat. I had to wait until I actually got a bottle of ink. My first bottle was Lexington Gray. Very happy with that. I use this thing all the time. That's why it stays fairly full, just to facilitate its constant use. But it couldn't be eyedroppered until I had some things I got from Goulet, such as, you know, the wonderful silicone grease. That's exceptionally necessary. Rubber bands, these are for adding notebooks into my traveler's notebook. This thing, we can get into that in a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and run through these pens real quick while I'm thinking about it. This is my little Noodler's Charlie. I flip between my the Nib Keeper Flex nib on it and the fine nib it came with. Right now I'm kind of valuing writing more than I am just outright line variation, and with this Noodler's Dostoevsky in here, it's just gorgeous. I know I can look at that for hours, just even though it tends to be like this while I'm writing. But y'all know that. Yeah. Keep those stacked. Magnets. Love magnets. This is my, you know, medieval lapis Noodler's Ahab, and I even have the medium non-flex tipped nib on this as well. Here, wait. And it's an absolutely fantastic writer. Good wet flow. Helps get some really great shading with the Ganges Elysium I have in there. So, I don't know, I started talking about like normal things and then got off on a tangent. That's probably going to happen a lot. So, ink syringes. I have a hard time pulling out the nib and feed on its own, so I have to use one of these little goulet grips. I know there are other things you could use, like cut a bicycle inner tube, which I don't have any bike tubes I can just go cannibalize at the moment, so that was worth it. Here's where I keep some extra cartridges and converters. There's the Ahab piston. I have a little converter for the Kaweco in here, or just one. I haven't really wanted to use it yet, but then again, I also don't have any actual like bottles of ink, and I want to get a bottle of ink, but I got a budget for it first, so got to get through all the samples I have and just be happy using them until I can afford a bottle of ink. I know, it's like $12.50 for some like 54th. There's some red black. Budgets. Gotta have one, gotta stick to it. You gotta set up a little pen allowance if you want to be able to. Especially when you live on a fixed income. So, such is life. Anyways, keep moving forward here. More, oop, don't you go rolling away on me. Here, let me. Slide to the left. Cartridges for my Ahab, just to have some backups ready to go. I need to get another package of these so I can have some empty ones for filling with other things. One of these is Lexington Gray, one of them is filled with Dostoevsky. That way. This one I think is the Upper Ganges blue, which means that Liberty's Elysium is what's in here, my Ahab right now. And I'm trying to remember what's in this one. I want to say 54th, maybe? I'd have to write with it. I should probably find a way to label them. That way, for future reference, I can remember. There's not much else in here, really. I've got the spare nibs for the, well, it's the art nib pack for the Ahab, just to have some things to play with at some point. Because, I mean, come on now. Let's see. Got the little Nib Creeper Flex nib. This is, yeah, this is the good one. I still have the, this is the second Flex nib I had to get for my nib, for the Charlie. Because I tried putting it on the Kaweco, which it worked. It did beautifully. And then, like a bonehead, I put the cap on and was like, what is this resistance? So, killed one. So, you know, $2 later, I had to get another one. And since I have been messing around with the feed on my Ahab, I picked up a spare just in case I damage it to the point where it's no longer as useful as I want it to be. I have the spare nib in here, and other than that, that's pretty much everything in here. Some Q-tips for cleaning real quick, wiping things off, doing some swabs if I need to. I've got the thank you card from, it's the problem with not having fingernails. Sometimes you need something fingernail-like, ta-da, in order to pick small things up. Like my wonderful thank you card. Love this. Thanks, Adrian. And Momiki? No, I wanted to show you this because it's got the whale on it. Yeah. And that just stays right down here. So and believe it or not, all of this stuff does fit in here, and the lid does in fact close. Somehow. It works. I don't know if I figured out how or why it does, I just know it does. So let's get this some kind of reassembled here. Because what better way to wrap up than to put a lid on things. That stays accessible. You gotta kind of put the big bottom things in first, then we get to this layer. Oh, the thing you might not be able to see, but there are some magnets. That's kind of how I do the desk pen thing with some of my pens. So I can just pull them in and out as I'm switching between them. Oh, and then there's one little honorable mention of a pen, and that's just a click, Write in the Rain, space pen for the couple of things in life that aren't exactly fountain pen friendly. Started all off with this, and then this came into my life. And thus the rabbit hole started. Yes, keep everything tip up, that way when I slip this into my bag, almost. That would be why. That's gonna have to move over here. That takes up a chunk of the lid. That's why. Just a magnet. Here, I'll show you why. There's a big magnet stuck into the lid. Yep, that's a sufficient close. Now, there's a big magnet because that's satisfying. Then, well, let's have that on there first, because that allows me to just keep that right there. You can just snag it off. You know, go to use it. I forgot to put a bag in there. Then that stays. You know, you do your thing. And I've always found the best way to close these. Bam. Done. So that's pens and my pen box, which has, yes, that's gaudy looking duct tape on it, not for any particular reason other than just to form a hinge, so I never lose the lid and it never separates too far if it accidentally opens in my bag. So that's pens. This honorable mention just because, excuse me, sorry, I found this exceptional Spyderco Chaparral. Just to be able to have something to cut and pry with. I got it nice, smooth right now. There you go, stick them in the magnet so it don't go nowhere. And get into some notebooks that I'm currently using. I know, notebook addict, kind of. Just, this is probably the best, just because it's the one that can always go with me. But, Rhodia Web Notebook, this is a really long video, I know. Kind of sorry about that, kind of not, just as an introduction to life and things. But this one's vertical. Now, yeah, I did some cool little, just some schwabs. This actually isn't North African Violet, this is Kunga Chang. And this one is actually North African Violet and not Kunga Chang, because I didn't realize, because I had them both and I was just doing some swabs, because I'm like, I don't really have time to necessarily ink these right now, but I really want to have a good idea what the colors are. So I just did some Q-tip swabs of them, and it wasn't until about halfway through this one, and I was just like, looked at the bottle again, and I was like, oh, this is North African Violet, not Kunga Chang. Which means, oh, so that's why that. This is my Sacrificed Flamingos, Noodler's Rachmaninoff. Angry Russian Pink, I have it here. And another lovely, lovely one. Brown Ford number 41. Or number 41 brown, however that's supposed to be. These are the last empty pages in my book, web notebook here.